morning, South Carolina. This is Marsh Dean, and I have got an adventure for you today. I'm driving down to Garris Landing to meet up with a good buddy of mine, Lewis Drucker. We're gonna check out Bull Island, which is an amazing barrier island here between Georgetown and Charleston. And it's a completely natural, undeveloped island. It's gonna be a really great adventure. Hopefully we'll see a lot of wildlife. There are turtles nesting and hatching on Bull Island right now, and so we're gonna get to see these pristine beaches. We're gonna get to learn some conservation lessons, and I'm going to share all this with you. I've got my camera gear, and we're gonna tell an awesome story with today's adventure to Bull Island. So I hope y'all enjoy. See y'all soon. Upon arriving at Garris Landing, I am greeted by the vast expanse of the Cape Romain National Wildlife Refuge, consisting of over 66,000 acres of salt marshes, coastal waterways, and barrier islands with natural sandy beaches, dense maritime forest, and freshwater impoundments. The Cape Romain National Wildlife Refuge is a site of worldwide importance. This environment is unique to the southeastern coast and has an ever more vital impact upon this changing world. Look who made it down to Garris Landing.
It's gonna be a great day.
And guess what? We're not gonna be in a John boat. We're cruising in comfort today, y'all.
We're not gonna play with those coastal winds on a John boat. No way.
Throughout the maritime history of South Carolina, Cape Romain has seen all manner of historical ships, such as the Santee dugout canoes, Spanish galleons, British schooners, Blackbeard's flagship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, and the famous steamer Planter. This Confederate transport ship was commandeered by a group of enslaved Africans under the leadership of Robert Smalls. They navigated out of Charleston Harbor unseen in 1862 and delivered it to the United States Navy. It's a multitude of human connections, storylines that we can draw upon when visiting such historic places. So we came out here expecting to meet the SC7 crew. It's 8:30 right now.
No, 9.
9. And we're wondering where they're at. So Lewis, he reached out to Tom and found out that
Turns out it looks like it's gonna be a estuary type trip on the boat for this afternoon from maybe 2 to 4. So our challenge now is we want to get on Bull Island. So let's leave Garris Landing here near Allendale and see if we can figure out our way through the inlets here and the swamps to get to Bull Island.
the great value of this natural coastline cannot be understated. This region is a vital ecosystem for thousands of species, a barrier for storm surges and erosion, a refuge of peaceful outdoor recreation, and a huge economic driver of South Carolina's economy. Cape Romain represents a well-managed relationship between humanity and Mother Nature, a time-honored outdoor tradition enjoyed and valued by South Carolinians today. When looking out upon these vistas, the present seems to fade away into this timeless landscape. Cape Romain and Bulls Island allow us to experience our living history, back through this nation's history and farther back, through the human connections going back many thousands of years. This is what we proudly call our heritage. And as the urban footprint continues to consume our coastline, these places of heritage become surrounded, forever changed. Our destination is Bulls Island, a natural barrier island home to 98 species of amphibians and reptiles, including the loggerhead sea turtles currently nesting on these shores. 34 species of mammals are recorded on Bulls Island, including natives such as white-tailed deer, raccoon, black bear, and introduced species such as wild pigs and red fox. Through the 1970s, Bull's Island was critical in the recovery efforts of the red wolf population, which historically hunted these shores and wetlands. Marine mammals, such as North Atlantic right whales, dolphins, and the occasional manatee also visit these shorelines. What draws many visitors to this region today is birdwatching. 293 species of birds frequent the refuge for foraging, nesting, resting, or migration. We are seeing the migration patterns of many birds shifting. Once rare tropical birds like ibis and spoonbill now arriving yearly. This shows how vital this coastline is as a resource for birds under the pressures of humanity. Throughout the early development of the United States eastern shorelines, the feather trade was booming, and many of the vibrant wetland birds we take for granted today were on the brink of extinction by the mid-1800s. Cape Romain and the surrounding barrier islands served as crucial rookery sites that preserved many of our beloved bird species. We're here on Bull's Island at the Cape Romain Wildlife Refuge, and it is quiet. Beautiful and quiet. Nothing but the smell of salt air and vegetation.
All right, mile and a half to the beach. Then we can make a left. We want to get it way up to Boneyard and see how our time runs. But looks like other than two people, the island's ours.
Barrier islands such as Bull's Island serve as critical barriers between hurricane storm surges and the mainland. Lewis remembers Hurricane Hugo hitting this coastline, rolling through Kingstree and almost ending his life.
It just said, okay, we'll ride it out right here. And probably about 2 hours later, in the middle of the night, we hear this monstrous boom! Right back, and we're at the back bedroom in the house. Next morning we get up and start surveying the damage, which is substantial everywhere. Look outside the bedroom window there, and the big oak tree had fallen about 10 feet from the bedroom. Oh. That was the big boom. And so then I went around and I saw something in the backyard, something big and white. I said, what in the world? And then I realized what I had seen on the porch. It was a 10-foot panel off the steeple of the church across the street. It came flying from way up there and just zoomed right past the porch. That thing would have hit me on the porch, I'd have been dead.
Look at this beautiful green long-horned beetle. Its vibrant display of colors mimics the leaves of the trees it consumes, while also warning predators away with intimidating reds. As a wood-boring insect, it can damage healthy trees, but it is also part of the great decomposition system that feeds this forest. Initially inhabited by the Siwi tribe, going back into pre-colonial history, this island was later settled in the 1670s by the English, led by a man named Stephen Bull. Later, Bull's Island would become a hunting retreat after the Dominic House was built in 1925.
Today it serves as the Cape Romain National Wildlife Refuge, a place for all to come and explore, learning our heritage and history in the beautiful great outdoors. We continue the hike towards the beach, down an old causeway surrounded by sable palmetto-filled wetlands. These palmettos, in full bloom, were alive with the buzzing of life. Coastal South Carolina has a great diversity of native pollinators. However, despite refuges like Cape Romain, 185 pollinator species are considered threatened or extinct today. Attuned to the buzzing of bees and the shifting seas of grass, I noticed the great silence found in natural sounds. Not a human voice could be heard. Lewis and I are transported back in time, enjoying a scene that for 15,000 years people in South Carolina have seen. There are so few places left like this, without the encroachment of buildings or sounds of motors and humanity. What a true treasure Cape Romain is. All of our protected natural expanses grow increasingly valuable as we lose the wild places found in between.
So tempted to go try to catch that dude.
Almost somewhere.
It is so amazing how dense that is, and it's a jungle. It's a huge swallowtail.
Isn't that pretty? Come on, stop for us.
Yeah.
You know you want to.
Just as the mosquitoes start to swarm.
Yeah, they are. I was feeling something hit me, and I looked down and they're swarming around me.
Did you see that they found that monarchs will stay in South Carolina year-round?
Yes, I just saw that, or you sent me that.
Yeah, I
That was
thought
a
that
neat-
was cool.
Neat find. And I also saw something where they were talking about some of the prothonotary warblers. Instead of migrating, they found that some of them are staying as well.
I think that's cool because that's an indicator of just how much of a resource this is, this area, and how
Exactly.
you know how bountiful it is that it can support.
Exactly. How about that? Boy, look at how the rain and the wind carved
shaped
that.
this,
How
yeah.
pretty it was.
That's worthy of. Beautiful, natural South Carolina Barrier Island beach. Untouched, undeveloped. Spectacular.
So we know that where the beach used to be, because of something else, you just stomp out there and the break.
So here we can see a glimpse into a unique little world. So underneath this thick layer of, these are oaks. These are live oaks, but they don't grow so huge because of their environment. Subject to constant winds and salt water. So they grow real small, but underneath are these caverns with wildlife going to and fro. But what's really cool, this is a great example of these dunes, that it's not just sand and it's not just dune grasses, but it's these oaks, these hardwoods that truly are holding together the embankments. And so when we come in and we clear out all the oaks and all the hardwoods, the palmettos, when we clear all that out to build along our beaches, we are setting ourselves up for disaster in regards to erosion. You'll see beach renourishment projects where they'll bring in sand and they'll plant grasses, but you gotta plant these live oaks because this is truly what holds it together. We got some cacti in there. Our dunes are much more than grasses. A very complex environment. Very dense. I could not walk through there if I wanted to. This is what all of our beaches looked like until we came in and cleared out all of the oak and all the palmettos and created beach houses. And then we wonder, you know, why the beach is eroding. This is an incredible testament to the resiliency of these palmettos. It's growing right here where the salt water comes up, and it seems to be doing just fine. Incredibly resilient plants that are meant for this exact environment, just like all of these little oaks. So right here we've got a turtle crawl. So this is from last night or early this morning. Turtle, she makes her way up here. I'm wondering if she laid or not. It looks like it. It looks like that she pushed them all up. That crab hole is a little concerning, but really freaking cool though to see. So that is where the turtle came up. She laid her eggs, or maybe she didn't. I think she did. And then she went back out to sea. Really amazing. So we're at the Boneyard beach on Bull Island. This is a perfect example of erosion, of how the forest used to go farther out there, or maybe even farther, but over time the waves, the ocean, the wind comes in and erodes the beach. And the vegetation, the trees, the roots, they're the big buffer. They're what keeps the shoreline together, keeps it strong, but still over the centuries, over the millennia, the ocean will eat away and the ocean will win that battle of erosion. But also, these boneyard beaches, these trees that are left behind will remain here, preserved in the salt for hundreds of years, and they will continue to keep holding this beach together. If we were to come in and bulldoze all these trees, this beach would be gone in a matter of years, or it would recede inland even farther. There is a bit of a mystery. Lewis and I have noticed a lot of these trees are charred. Not just one or two, but many of them. And so, could have been lightning, could have been a fire, who knows? Maybe back when this was all forest.
Exactly. Because it's so widespread on all of these. We got some nests coming up in the
Oh yeah.
beach here.
So this is a horseshoe crab, recently deceased. Really cool creature though. This tree shows us where this soil line used to be. So the soil used to be, what is that, 3.5, 4 feet up? And so where we're standing was the bottom of the forest floor. This is a pine tree. And we know that the pine tree won't grow on the beach, and so this was forested. All this was forested. And the ocean might have been a couple hundred yards that way. But over time, erosion wins and the ocean wins. That's a big live oak. And what this tells me as well is that this was forested. This wasn't just dunes, because we see live oak growing in the dunes, but they're much smaller. They stay small. These large trees indicate that this was an actual forest. Spectacular beach. Look at all of these palmettos washed up. These were used in Fort Sumter, and you can totally see why. These big spongy trunks are so resistant to the water, and they were also resistant to the cannonballs. So we found another turtle crawl. Vice versa, she could have come up right here. Probably more likely came up right here, didn't like this spot first, and then made her way over here to this location where you can certainly see the outline of where she was digging. So hopefully there's a nest right there underneath the sand. And then back out.
As Lewis and I walked, we talked. I've spent some time with him upon our rivers and looking for ancient cypress trees. He's a kindred spirit, and he knows me. He practiced dentistry with my father. They worked together, and he knew my mother too. He has had a very personal view into my life, and he can give me insight into the things that I fight. We talked of our common struggles, and of the common adventures that lead us to continue through. These places that heal and soothe, excite the curiosity of life, inspired by what can still be found around the bend.
So these Boneyard beaches are a really important lesson on conservation. They're a really important lesson on erosion, on the battle against the sea and the wind, the salt, the ongoing battle down here at the coast, against the storms. This Boneyard Beach is a perfect example of the natural resilience. These trees, they might have died, many of them have died long ago, but they stay here. And they continue to protect this beach, even in death. This web of wood that holds the sands together. So when we humans come and we clear all the forest, we clear the forest and just keep the dunes, we need to understand that it's the forest that is also crucial in holding together this coastline. When the storms come, like Hurricane Hugo, that humongous storm surge comes sweeping up through here. And it's these barrier islands that actually protect the mainland from the storm surge. I'm sure many of these trees were actually lost during that storm surge during Hurricane Hugo.
Throughout our distant past, our evolution as humans, we've been spending time outdoors together. Powerful places viewed, the conversations had in natural silences. In such a distracted world of screens, we are in dire need of ancient human things, such as walking and talking, the camaraderie of pursuits outdoors. We make our way back down the beach, 1.5 miles towards the boat, and I feel that my curiosity of this region has only been ignited. This place of great heritage and importance deserves much more time to explore. This adventure video ends for now. However, my explorations continued down the Midden Trail and afterwards to the Siwi Shell Ring, a 5,000-year-old indigenous site nearby. I hope y'all will join me in the next episode as we delve deep into the human history of the Carolina coastline. If you enjoyed this video, follow me on social media or subscribe to my YouTube channel, Adventures with Marsh. As an independent filmmaker, your comments and shares go a long way towards spreading my pursuit of passionate storytelling. If you'd like to learn more about conservation in this state, check out the SC7 Expedition, the group who inspired our adventure to Bull's Island. We see the preservation of our natural landscapes as a mission of key importance in this modern era, and I hope to share my conservation ethic and outdoor heritage with you in a deep and meaningful way. I hope you enjoyed this adventure, and I'll see you soon in episode number 2.